Today we're looking at how bicycles, more specifically mountain bicycles, have evolved from the beginning to now. The goal has always been to get places faster or over rough terrain using mechanical human power. The core purpose of the bike hasn't really changed much since the beginning, whether it's the 1800s or today. The need is the same, a durable, versatile bike for recreation, exercise, and exploration. Now we're going to start with the very first bike ever invented. It's 1817. It's made by some German guy, and he calls it the Laufmaschine, or running machine. And basically, this is just a wooden frame on some wooden wheels, and you kind of like stand on it and like glide along. It just makes walking like a little more efficient. But yeah, there's no brakes, no pedals. You steer it by like leaning. It's just very, very rudimentary. Okay, now we're gonna break this down into a couple components. First, we're gonna talk about the materials of every bicycle, the components it has, how it's manufactured, weight, performance, and the cost. So for this first bike, it's made pretty much entirely out of wood. There's some iron stuff to pull stuff together. It was sturdy for the time, but less so than modern day standards. Very little components here, just basically a rudimentary steering mechanism, wheels, and a seat. This was handcrafted by skilled woodworkers and blacksmiths. There's no modern manufacturing or precision tooling here. This bike was pretty heavy, for being full wood, but it was a major step in transportation. In the early 1800s, these machines were probably pretty expensive, only for really wealthy people. So you're not going to be seeing this around all too common. Okay, now we're going to be moving forward 168 years into what is more looking like a normal bicycle. And this is really when you see, mountain bikes specifically start popping up. And we have a 1985 Mountain Goat Deluxe. And this bike, it uses steel tubing, and so it is relatively heavy, but compared to previous bikes, it is a lot lighter. It kind of slimmed down the frame as much as possible. So this bike really only comes in at around like 35 pounds, whereas most other bikes were 40 or even 50. So for components, we have some rim brakes and friction shifters. These are offering basic control, but it's just not very efficient or snappy compared to modern day systems. The gearing systems were a lot simpler with fewer speeds. However, something you will notice is that this bike has a front derailleur and a bunch of different gears on that front sprocket. This is something that's going to change in the modern time. For the modern mountain bike, there's usually only one gear on the front, and this is just because when you are trying to climb uphill and you need to shift gears, that gear is going to, if you want to drop your gear so you can get some more torque, the gear actually has to climb up the gears, and often that leads to a lot of slipping. So you usually just remove that and do all your shifting on the back, so that if you drop a gear, you can just also drop the chain and your chain won't fall off. It'll just go down to the next sprocket. So that's something that you lose some complexity. It becomes simpler because sometimes simpler is better. Anyways, now how you manufacture this is some hand-welded steel tubes, usually made by skilled people, not robots. Like this bike, for example, was made by two guys in a garage. So this will lead to modern manufacturing where we have massive assembly lines and stuff like that. And then as far as performance, for its time, it was fairly capable with the tires and the weight and all of that. But for modern days, it's just very clunky. It's not very good at handling. It's going to be more difficult to get over terrain. And then finally, cost. This was about $1,000 back in 1985, and adjusted for inflation, it's about $2,500 today. And so now we're going to fast forward to 40 years to the modern day 2025 Instinct Alloy. Now this thing is a monster. It's got pretty much every single bell and whistle you could imagine. To start with, this bike is made with hydroformed aluminum. It's lighter, stiffer, more resistant than steel. It optimizes strength, and it is much lighter as well. For components, it is all bedazzled out. We have hydraulic disc brakes on both front and back. We got the 12-speed drivetrain, which is, like I said, there's the one sprocket you can see in the front. but we have all the sprockets in the back of it, so minimize chain slipping. And then, of course, these derailleurs. The derailleur is right here. And yeah, let's see. We also have some nice big 29-inch wheels. That's going to help make getting rocks a lot easier. And yeah, and then also another big thing is now we have suspension. Before it was a fully hard, rigid bike. Now the bikes it can take bumps on both the front wheel and the rear one as well. And that's just going to make you to ride a lot smoother, and it's also going to keep your tire fully contacted with the ground at all times. Finally, we can talk about, you may have this bike is manufactured, it's usually completely robotic. You have robotic welds, robotic welding machines, CNC machining, all kinds of, large, think of, a massive assembly line, and it's just going down there, and that helps keep costs down. But, it's very different from the 80s where, you had, actual skilled people making this. Now I'll talk about weight. So we saved a lot of weight making it aluminum, but we added a lot of components with the suspension. So it actually kind of just evens out. This bike weighs about 33 pounds, so basically the same. But you're getting so much more in comfort, reliability, capabilities, stopping power, all kinds of things, is just astronomical night and day. This bike is incredible. So yeah, and now we can take a look more at some of the specific components. We have, like I said, we have the rear shock here, front shock here. Here's the handlebars. That's what's got your brake levers and your gear shifters. Seats at the top. You have your two wheels along with the front sprocket for pedaling power. And of course, all of these components, pretty much every gear and wheel, it's all going to spin clockwise. Everything is clockwise for the rotational. And then you have your two suspensions. Those are going to actuate up and down linearly. I guess you could also say that the brakes do open and close. So there's another linear actuation. And there is also this rear derailleur can actually move back and forth to keep the slack in the chain out. You can move your seat up and down to adjust your height. And then, of course, you can turn the stem left and right to adjust your steering, the steering stem. And yeah, that's pretty much everything on this bike. Hope that was informational. Have a good day.